Join me as Russell Slade after Hereford's 0-0 draw with Boston. Your reflections, your first game in charge. What do you make of things out there today?
I think it's the most vocal I've been for about 10 years, Keith. That's for sure. Obviously, we both set out with the same shapes. That's what I changed at half time, just to try and give us a little bit more width and a little bit more of a threat going forward. Because I thought they had the better of the first half. I thought we actually defended quite well first half and got some blocks in and around the box to keep us firmly in the game. In the second period, I thought we came into it a little bit. We just had a couple of little half opportunities to try and get the first goal, which was one of those days where that first goal was going to be key, but nobody's got it in the end. The positives are is we have got a clean sheet, but there are lots of things that I have the time now, a little bit of time now to work on, unfortunately, before our next game.
You must have wondered with all these injuries flying around that it just wasn't going to be your day. I'll ask you about the first one with Martin Riley. Is it a broken wrist? It looks that way to me.
No, he's popped his shoulder out.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's not great. Obviously, we'll assess him and see how he is. But that means, I thought he was very good today up until he got his injury.
Then you had Jason Pope as well.
I know. So not great on the injury front, I have to say. We didn't need that in the situation. But as I say, we've got a couple of weeks now. Maybe we can build up some momentum on the back of that, and hopefully those boys will be back with us soon.
Obviously you want to see a lot more cohesion. That's what spectators wanted today, and we didn't really see too many passing movements. I guess you need to assess the players now to work out how you're going to achieve that.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. I felt for the player on the ball today, because when we did win the ball back, actually, and we were giving it away in transition on that first pass or that second pass, but there wasn't always, you're absolutely right, there wasn't always a lot of options on for the player on the ball. And that's obviously something in possession we've got to work on. We've got to work a lot harder to find and create a little bit of space, because then we can move forward. Because
you talked about changes, you're going to have a look at things. Is that 2 weeks almost like a new pre-season for you?
Well, it helps. It'd be nice to have them every day, but we'll use the Saturdays as well to work on it. So that it'll give us 5 or 6 sessions now, and that could only help as we move forward for sure. And some of the younger players were asked to come on today, and Tommy's done some good things when he's come on, Tommy O'Sullivan. But they've got to be ready as well in terms of mentality and also in terms of fitness, because I felt we faded it both halves really. There's the end of the game and the end of the first half, so we need to be competing. The game's are 96 minutes, as you know. And they could have scored it. They had a free kick in the 96th minute, and that could have been the difference today. I want it to be us that's having the free kick in the last minute to see if we can win a football match.
Because it was an aerial threat from Boston in the end. They could see the weakness in there, and that's what they tried to do, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. They've seen that big centre half's gone off, and they've sent guy who landed the Giants, he must be about 6'6", that's gone on to try and upset us, but we managed to keep him out, and fair play to Pope. He's slotted back in there at centre half and done a job for us. And as I say, that's the positive really. You go out with the intention, if you don't concede a goal, you're giving yourself a chance, and fair play to the lads. Boston, I think, scored 4 or 5 last week, and we managed to keep a clean sheet, so it's a starting point. There are not loads of positives, but that is one of them.
Because you were very animated up and down that touchline, I thought, very vocal. Is that something that you expect every week, or are you somebody that would really rather let the players get on with it?
If the players are going to sit as deep as they were at times today, then I'll be very vocal, Keith. We've got to get up the pitch, because if we don't get up the pitch, we can't compete for the second balls. And we need to be winning more things in the opposing half, and if we back here on our heels, then we're not going to be able to do that. So in and out of possession, we'll have to get a grip of that and do some more work, because we need to be winning those individual battles and those 50-50s, because that's what changes games.
And you said to me yesterday that a new coach would be coming in this week. You would appoint it this week. he's going to help you, I guess, in the coming weeks.
Yeah, of course, yeah. So the club, as a club, regrouping now, managers in, coaches, with a bit of luck, will be in next week, and then we're set to go again.
And the practice match next Saturday?
Yeah, that's what I'd like to do. If it's not a practice match this Saturday, we will be working Saturday, and then it might be we have the practice match the Saturday after, because that'll get us geared up, ready for the game.
Thanks for your time today.
Pleasure.
And would it be a normal training session on Tuesday?
Yes.
Obviously you're playing on Tuesday.
Yes. Yeah, normal training session. Yeah.
You spoke about maybe bringing in loan players or having a look at the squad. When do you think you'll start looking at doing that?
Started.
And so it might be next week or two.
Well, yeah,
might
I
be
just
new
started to
arrivals.
see, you know, and people, to be fair, people that I know have been putting one or two things into me as well, so we'll have a look at what maybe we can do to help the group.
Any position in particular you need to start with? What you've seen?
What I've seen, probably at the moment, if Martin's injury keeps him out, we're going to be looking at that centre half area, and maybe as well up the top as well. We might be looking. So yeah, but both ends of the pitch probably, maybe even across the middle. We'll see what the board's got.
And will you be looking at young players or a bit of experience into the side, or a bit of both?
Well, yeah, mixture. I think the blend's important, isn't it? You know, it's balance, get that balance right. So I'm not looking for an old man or anything like that, but you know, we'll have a look what's on the market, and you know what it's a question of. It's all right bringing bodies in. It's a question of, are they going to improve us really? And that's the key really. If we want to bring somebody in, let's make sure they're better than what we've got.
Your first impression of Hereford itself after getting here a few days to the ground and the stadium and what have you?
The setup's like it was when I brought teams many years ago. So yeah, it's no different. It's no different. The only difference was today that the last two occasions I was here, I won, but I've not won today. But hopefully that will change quickly.
You mentioned you're bringing in a coach, probably within the next week.
Yeah. Next week. I'd like to think we'll get that done next week. Yeah.
Because are you able to say what the kind of setup is? Because obviously you've had a head of football here and a head coach, yes, but you've come in as a manager.
Yes.
Understanding you're bringing in a coach.
Yes.
Will you be working alongside Tim, or is that short term? Or
Tim will be like that between me and the board really. He'll go into that kind of role. He'll help with that recruiting side as well, and running that side of the club. Well, I'll be solely in charge. I'll be picking the team. I'll be you know, giving the yes or no to the player that comes in to the football club.
But in essence, will you be answering to him, or would he like oversee the whole? How the first team's doing?
No, it's different roles, isn't it? That's the thing.
Okay.
It's different roles. It depends. That's what I'm saying to you. If it's a decision to pick the team, it's me. Do you know what I mean? So there are two separate roles there.
And you haven't been in non-league football for a long time, and I think Scarborough was probably the last time.
Yes, it was. Yes.
How do you? Is it different now than when it was then? Obviously, so not much difference between, for example, the National Premier and League Two. Obviously, we're in the league below at the moment. How do you see it at first impressions?
I think so. I think at the very top, the Premier League. I think there are big gaps now, aren't there, between the big teams and the not so big teams. But I think you know, in the National League and League Two, there's not always a lot of difference now. And Lincoln City have proved that, haven't they? A tremendous run that they've gone on. So. Yeah, and you don't very often see conference team get promoted to League Two and then come back down the next year, do you?
Obviously, right, your captain Josh today was not ideal for your first game.
Yeah.
Is that a short term out?
Yeah, well, yeah, we'll just review everything. We'll see how he is, and then we'll, you know, we'll just take it from there. Really, just review it. Yeah.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Thanks very much. Lovely. Thank you.